We're live.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our masterclass for November. We have a very timely masterclass. That topic we're going to talk about today. We have Jason Geiman here, and he's going to share some tips on how to start a holiday lighting business. Which great background, Jason. Right on point. So if you don't know Jason, which I'm sure you have seen him around if you have been in this industry for a bit, but he has both a pressurewashhelp.com and was it holidaylighthelp.com?
ChristmasLightsHelp.com.
ChristmasLightsHelp.com. Jason, and I'll let you introduce yourself a little bit better, but you started a business, was it in 2013?
Yep.
2013, grew it to $1 million within 4 years, sold it, but then helped them with the holiday light marketing last year and did $500,000 just in holiday lights. So we are really excited to have you on here today, Jason. We're excited to hear what you have to share. Just kind of a little bit of the reason we wanted to bring this up today is we have, number one, a lot of our clients actually do holiday lighting business, but I know they could use tips on how to do it even better. And then number two, we run into people all the time, both clients and at shows and just in the industry all around, of wanting to get into this business because they hear how lucrative it can be and just trying to figure out how. So excited for both those reasons to talk about this today. We answer lots of calls right around this time. Everybody's starting to think about this, and we actually do a lot of outbound calls around this time, just to get people scheduled, because got to get them on the calendar now to get it, in time. Actually, it starts really back in September and October that we really start talking about it. So anyway, Jason, tell us a little bit more about how you got into this.
So in 2013, obviously, I started my pressure washing business, and I wanted to go with employees. And so with pressure washing, you can only do it in the Cincinnati area, and a lot of the north up here. You can only do it for about 8 or 9 months. Well, trying to keep employees all year long and laying them off and trying to get them back is next to impossible. It's not impossible, but next to it. And so I started looking for something to do in the wintertime. I went to the huge convention in 13, and Josh Latimer was there with, it's SynGym now, but it was before it was SynGym. It was Radius Bomb back in the day. And so he had it on one of his things of a postcard. And so through that, I started learning more about it, and I started doing it. And so I did it from 2014, all the way up until I sold the business. And the Christmas lights is very lucrative at the end of the day. It's very profitable. It can be, obviously, you got to know how to bid. You got to find out who your customers are. This customer here is a doctor. I was actually at this house yesterday. I did a ride along with one of the guys I taught, that he did this house here. And so great. It is very lucrative at the end of the day. And so, these are the clients that we're looking for. We're not looking for, somebody who lives in a $150,000 house. This is $1 million house, and, it's a $4,000, $5,000 light job at the end of the day. And so it can be very lucrative. And so that's the reason why I started, is so that I could keep my employees all year long. And obviously I grew it. Like I said, every year, the beautiful thing about Christmas lights is every year it grows. It is hard to get customers, but keeping customer retention is really good. So the close rate on customers to get Christmas lights is about a 20% close rate, but the return rate on it is about 80% close rate. Wow. So whoever you get is 80%. And the beautiful thing about Christmas lights is if they got this kind of money to spend on lights, they also have money to spend on other services. Right. And so that's something that, on your side of things, in the spring, if you're doing calling out, call outs, these customers here will also use other services. So the lifetime value of a Christmas light customer is, it can be $20,000, $30,000 is the lifetime value of that Christmas light customer. So that's the importance of having the Christmas light customers at the end of the day.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. So I'm curious, and whatever you feel like you can share, just using this as an example so we can kind of get an idea. So you said that this job behind you is about four to $5,000. And about how much time did your crews and how many crew members to accomplish that?
So this is again, I teach Christmas lights and I teach pressure washing now. And
That's
so
right.
this is a student that I've taught, and this is his second or third year. I believe this is his third year, and it took him around 4.5 hours to do this whole job. And so it's not that, it's not that long. Now, we actually did the neighbor's house yesterday. This house he had did a couple of weeks ago, or about a week or two ago. The neighbor's house was right next door to this one, and it was basically a roof line just like this here. And just for instance, I teach pricing a lot of times. Sometimes it's hard at different things, but my pricing, for instance, is this up here is $6 to $8 a foot, depending on how well you can sell and how your area can handle it. And so a lot of it has to do with mindset and dealing with mindset to be able to sell that high and believe in it. Because, when I'm saying 6 to 8 foot, so the neighbors was right at 100 foot. So that's, if we're selling at $8, that's $800 just for the outline of the roof, not counting all the windows, all the groundwork. And so a lot of times getting over that mindset of, well, I would never pay that. Well, it comes back to, obviously, I am not my customer. These people here are my customers. And so, a lot of the problems that I've run into, a lot of guys is, well, I don't know if I could charge that much, or, and they don't like hearing the word no. Obviously that can be hard. So hearing that word no, if we only have a 20% close rate, out of every 10 phone calls, we're only going to get 2 yeses. We're going to get 8 no's. And so that can be hard for some people to get that, able to be able to do that. So obviously, where the profit is in these top lights here and in reefs. I sell a lot of reefs, because the reason why I do that is it's easy. In fact, I do my business of doing Christmas lights for 5 years. I never did one window. Actually, I did one house with windows, and that was it, because this is too time consuming. The house next door, we put up 100 feet of lights, and it was an $800 job, and we were in and out in about an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes. And that was actually a little slow because he had a brand new guy there that he was trying to train on the ground. So the timing is not a lot of time. It's just, it's about getting the hiring close rate at the end of the day.
So would you recommend just starting with your current database of whatever? I mean, we've seen window cleaners do this. We've seen carpet cleaners, like actually several different industries. I'd say mostly it's more pressure washers and window cleaners because they tend to have the ladders and stuff, but I've seen it all around. But would you recommend, say, I want to get started in this? How do I start? Where do I go first?
So the biggest thing is getting customers, and there's a couple ways to get customers. Obviously your old database, but that being said, a $200, $300 pressure washing client probably is not going to be a $1,700, $1,800 Christmas light client, or $1,000. So I have several guys out that I've taught that are going to do very well this year. They're going to be closing in into the $250,000 range just in Christmas lights, several places across the country. And their average ticket is anywhere from $1,800 to $2,000 per average ticket. So with that said, if we're looking at our Christmas or our pressure washing clients, it's very low. So the best way to get Christmas light clients is through AdWords is one way, and that's how I grew the business that I did. And then the other way is yard signs. Yard signs, I did a lot of yard signs, and that got us business too. And I know a lot of people that's got business that way. But at the end of the day, what really gets us business is answering the phone. And if we don't answer
right,
the phone,
you're talking our language. We did not pay Jason to say that.
He did not pay me to say that, but I'm going to say it over and over. That is the number one thing. I see it all the time. I've been trying to get, my deck built and a couple other things for my rental houses. And you know how many businesses I call that do not answer their phone. I mean, the people that it's kind of sad. When I first started my pressure washing business, the people that didn't answer the phone back then was, 1 out of 10 would answer their phone. And then you wonder why you can't get work. It's the same way with Christmas lights. If we're not answering our phone, getting that customer quote, getting it out, we're letting money roll out the door and not do anything about it.
Right. No, I mean, especially when you're talking, I mean, any call that you miss is painful. You're talking about a, $300 window clean job, carpet clean job, whatever it may be, pressure washing. But then when you're talking, a 4,000 potentially job or a couple $1,000s, that phone call can be very expensive to miss.
And I mean, that's, I've done, we've done a $15,000 HOAs and churches. We had a $20,000 church. And so those phone calls, if you don't answer, is just, who knows how much money you're leaving on the table at the end of the day.
Right. And I mean, and since you brought it up, kind of what the majority of our clients will do is we typically very rarely give them a quote, because my guess is with Christmas, when lights or any really lighting for special events, weddings, etc., it's so customized. But we generally will give out a minimum, and we actually recommend that just based off experience, because you're going to weed out people who really have no idea how much this actually costs, and you don't want to waste your time. So we can nicely say, just so you are aware, we have a 500 minimum or 800 or whatever it may be. And that helps at least weed them out. And then the ones who, don't bat an eye at that, then we can schedule an estimate.
And that is a good point. That's one thing I teach is, when in your elevator speeches, it's about a service, blah, 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 blah. Our minimum is $500-$600 and our average ticket is $1,000. And you're going to get 1 or 2 responses out of that. One response is just going to go silent for a little bit, and they're going to say, okay. And the other response is, how much? Are you crazy?
Then go buy a ladder, right? No, the thing is it's just the nature of the business. It's just a higher end ticket, which it's a pain to put up Christmas lights. So I get it.
Well, and that's the thing too, the lady yesterday was like, you only was here for an hour and a half. I thought this was going to take you all day. And it's like, it's not about the factor that how long we're there. It's about the risk factor at the end of the day. Whether we are putting these lights up and we're, tying off and doing everything, or we're doing it as an owner and we're being risky and we're not taking safety precautions after at it, there is a lot of risk that we are up on the roofs and we're using big ladders and, stuff like that. So there is risk involved in it. So that's kind of, the higher the risk, the better the benefit is at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Now, do you generally recommend, I've heard it work in a few ways, that they actually are purchasing the lights, they're technically theirs, whether you store them or they store them and then you come back and do it, or they're renting from you. How does that usually work?
So I like to sell it as a service. It's an all-inclusive service. We will help you design it. We will bring our lights. We will install the lights. If there's a problem, we will fix the lights, and then we come back and take down the lights. And so at the end of the day, it is our lights. We're not selling the service. We're not renting, because if you rent, if you rent or lease, you can technically get in trouble if something happens to them through legal crap. And so by doing it as a service, it gets us out of that. So, for instance, if I rent a house and I break something, I have to fix it. Well, if I do these lights, I'm not going to charge you if your dog comes and eats my lights. That's going to be part of the service that I'm offering you. Now, if your dog eats it 10 times, then obviously I might shoot your dog. I might, your dog, you're going to have to pay for it eventually. But I'm going to give you 1 or 2 times as a service. So that way, if the wind knocks them down, all of that kind of thing.
That makes sense. So do you charge a different price the first time just for the design and everything, or is it pretty much the same every year? And say they want to switch up the design one year.
So most people want to go with warm white. 95% of the people are going to go with warm white. And then the other thing about that is I try to teach that I sell it as a 3-year agreement. So if you do the service this year, it's going to cost you this much. If you sign a 3-year agreement, I'll knock 15% off of every year even this year. And so that way, you know, like this guy up here, I think he's got 25 or 26 jobs now that are all under 3-year contracts. So he's got almost $40,000 every year under a contract of coming in every year that he can sit there and throw them up and don't have no cost at the end of the day from that.
I'm curious to go over, Jason, your website. Like what services do you offer as far as training? What does that kind of look like if someone was really interested in starting up a business like this? What can you help them with?
Well, I have a membership style, and what it is it basically, it has all my trainings in from startup to finish, from what you need to do from starting up a business, your LLC, getting incorporated, finding a CPA, kind of all of that kind of stuff. And then it goes into the how-tos of it, how to answer the phone, how to do all of that kind of stuff. If you can't answer the phone, call somebody that can, all of that. I'm going to go through everything like that. I also have and through that membership, I have my Facebook group that I have. And then I also do 2 Zoom calls a month for anybody that has that is in my community. So that way we all grow together, or all my guys grow together. And that's how a lot of my guys are getting growth of being able to do this stuff and to be able to keep growing and be successful at the end of the day.
That's awesome. That's probably the hardest part, is just starting and knowing where to go. I know pricing things has always been hard. How do I price things? Some people are just great at their whatever their service is, but maybe not so good at sales.
Mm-hmm.
So sales coaching is always very, very helpful. Yeah, it's awesome.
I love that it's ongoing too. So yeah, so I watch all this material, but I might have a particular question about this situation. So I love that Zoom call aspect.
There's a community.
And a lot of times, even in the Zoom call, they'll be like, how much do I charge for this? And the good thing about being in a community like that too, is you're not just getting my expertise of, from doing it forever. I have several guys, well, I just did this last week and this is what I did. And so that makes things a lot better. And it's more about accountability too. So the accountability of things, of making sure things happen, because a lot of times we get procrastinating and we'll say we'll do it and don't ever have anybody for accountability. And usually nothing happens at that point.
So here's a question. So, okay, we're at what? November 17th. So probably a little late to get started this season, unless you just, whip it up and go out there. I mean, but if someone wanted to get going on this, what roughly timeline would you advise them? I would do this then, like how would you?
If you wanted to get started, obviously you're going to be behind the 8 ball quite a bit. But what I would say to that is go ahead and do it this year. So that way you start learning all the little tricks and nicks and all that. And even if you only do 5 or 10, 15 jobs. So I had a guy start on the 12th 3 years ago, and he's a landscaper out of Louisville, Kentucky. And this year he's going to do over 250. And so by him starting even him starting late, he did $30,000 his first year.
Okay, well, that's worth it then.
That's what I mean. It's definitely worth it, even if you start it right now. Now, you need to go, you're going to have to be able to hit your client base. But even if you just did your house, your mom's house, and your, some other relatives, and learn the tricks of the trade. So then next year, when you come around, you can get started. So some things that I usually try to do is, so if I've already started my Christmas light business, in July, I will send out Christmas cards to all my past Christmas light customers, so that way I can try and get them signed up and start paying for me in July. And then in September, also in July and August, is when I'm also going to hit my LinkedIn, my email list of property managers and all that kind of stuff, because that's when they are in budget season. So my property managers, my HOAs, all of that kind of stuff, they're going to be in budget season, and usually in August and September. So I want to make sure that they're putting this into their budget season. Now, I also understand that's not usually going to be until next year, but I want to be able to make sure that I'm getting into those. And so how I grew that is through my email list, and also through email marketing, and then through LinkedIn. And then in September, you're going to start getting some. October, You'll get a lot of door kickers and, just kind of seeing what it's cost. And then November is when it really starts. And the week of this week and next week, actually this week and next week, the week right before Thanksgiving, your phone, especially once you start getting busy, will blow up, literally blow up. I mean, you can get 100 calls a day. I got a guy out of Indianapolis that's saying he's getting 100 calls a day for Christmas lights right now this week. So this is when it can really blow up.
Sure.
And, I always say for AdWords, that's how I kind of grew my business. I know that people a lot of times balk at, $20, $25 a click, but you are going to be pretty high clicks for Christmas lights. You're not going to get the $3 clicks on this stuff because, we're at a, average ticket is $1,800. So you're going to have to open up that wall a little bit if we're going to play in the AdWords game. I mean, you can get the clicks of $3, $4, but you're probably not going to want those customers that went to page 4 to be able to get to that customer. So that's why we're going to have higher clicks to get it going. So.
Yeah, you're talking more like roofing kind of AdWords,
Right.
but it is the upper amount, so that makes sense. Do you recommend like their first year doing it at a more discounted rate just to get some clientele and testimonials and things like that? Or
No,
they
I don't.
start where you want to be?
I usually don't teach that because the problem with teaching that is people get into that mindset that that's all they can sell. And when they get into that mindset, then they say, well, next year, next year, I'm going to do that. And I got the guy out of Indianapolis getting 100 phone calls, and he's way cheap on his price. He's been doing this for 10 years and getting buku loads. And next year, he's going to raise his prices. And so I've been in his ear for about 3 years now of you got to raise your price, you got to raise your price, you got to raise the prices. Well, now he's seeing some other guys that are just getting in the industry 2-3 years and doing way more than he is because he wouldn't listen at raising prices because next year I'm going to raise them my prices. And so the guys that listened to me that started with the prices at my rate and kept on going is way higher than, some of these guys, I got a guy in Raleigh right now that's charging $10 a foot for Christmas lights.
Oof.
So, 100 feet to $1,000 just for the lights across the roof.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not a big fan of starting cheap and then build this clientele because at the end of the day, like I say, it's an 80% return rate. So next year, year 2, year 3, I'm still doing this guy for $600 when I'm turning away $2,000 customers. And so you will have to learn how to fire customers at some point if you start out cheap and just to get into to it for cheap wise.
Yeah, I see that. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Nicole, I'm putting you on the spot. Didn't you have an experience where someone came out and gave you a bid?
No, they didn't actually come out.
Oh,
I think they did kind of like how roofers will check through like Google Maps or something to see my roof. I did get a quote once. I didn't actually do the lights, but I do want lights. But yeah, she just asked me like how many sides I wanted covered, and then and I'm on a corner lot, so lots of sides.
Right.
So it was like maybe not this year, but yeah, I think that's how she quoted me. It was a couple of years back too, but I don't think they came out to my house.
And there is 2 different trains of thoughts of whether I come out and close or I do it all online. I did all of it online. I teach how to do it online. It's a little bit difficult, but I got the guy that did the next door neighbor's house. He did it. He did this one and the next door, but the one we did yesterday, and he was like 5 feet off. He was 5 feet off on one house, and he was actually 10 feet short on the other house. So he actually made more money by doing it, there. And it isn't. And again, it's not. This isn't everybody's. You're not going to close not everybody's your customer at the end of the day. And that's a hard thing to deal with. That's a hard thing that people got to get through their head that not everybody's your customer, And so not everybody's your customer, and I'm definitely not my customer because there's no way I would pay that much for lights. But again, I'm not my customer. So
do you see a higher close rate if you bid in person or
you can get a higher close rate bidding in person, but the problem So there's a guy out of Chicago that taught us, and he bid everything in person. And he did get a little bit higher close rate, but in a little bit higher ticket, but not enough that I could see the be sending a salesman out and doing all that kind of stuff.
Mhm. One thing I know, I'm not sure if this is accurate all around, but just an observation I made in some talking to other people, where you live in like a more affluent neighborhood like that, there's almost a social pressure too, to, you know, you have to have lights and you've got to have them look professional. So if you find a neighborhood can get a few homes, I'm guessing word of mouth's going to spread too, because, well, who did yours? And it's like keeping up with the Joneses kind of thing.
So this house here is this house here is right here. The neighbor right across right next door to her did it. The one right across the street was like immaculate too. We did one right down the other, right two, 3, 4 houses down the other street. But it was kind of funny because the lady next door is like, I'm a trendsetter and I do, and I'm like, and then you look at this house and you're like, well, you better start setting some real good trends, because to beat this house, good luck, honey, because you got a long way to go, you know. And it's kind of funny because then when this guy, I actually went back up to this place. I had to drive another 30 minutes back up here so that I could get the pictures. And the guy was coming home from work and he's like, I'm just admiring it. It looks amazing. And I'm like, your neighbor said that she's a trendsetter. And he's like, well, good luck on
Yep. Yeah, I can see that being a thing. So get your foot in the door in some of those neighborhoods. And
Yeah. Do you guys ever do model homes? Because I mean, here in Utah, there's always new communities going up and new housing developments going on everywhere. And there's always like a gorgeous model home right at the entrance where they're building homes, or they have a whole new community. And the model home always is so beautiful. It looks so immaculate.
We did one, but that was it. We did do a lot of clubhouses in the front of, like some of the nicer neighborhoods, the clubhouse, because we do the HOA entries and the clubhouse and all of that kind of thing. So
Cool.
Awesome. Well, I kind of just wanted to give like a brief overview. I mean, there's so much more we could talk about, where to get supplies,
Oh,
all
and
these different things.
You also have your YouTube channel, right?
yes, I do.
So I'd love to put that on.
Yeah. So what I was going to say is check out Jason's stuff, because he's got tons of information. So if you really are wanting to get into this, or you're already in it, but just want more information, yeah, what's the YouTube station?
So Pressure Wash Help is your YouTube channel. Is that right?
If you go to Pressure Wash Help, if you go to pressureWashHelp.com/YouTube, it'll actually take you right to it. So, and
Okay.
ChristmasLightsHelp.com/YouTube would take it. Awesome.
Perfect. We will post that in the comments here. But yeah, if you guys have further questions, yeah, reach out to Jason, check out his stuff. I would love to see more and more businesses do this, because it makes me excited. I mean, we'll share, we use Slack in our office just to communicate with each other. And we have a Slack room where it's just like booked jobs. And if you book a huge job, we put it in there just so we can all cheer on our client and each other for booking that job. And the holiday lights ones are always like so exciting. And my jaw always does drop a little. I'm not going to lie. Like, really, they paid that, but it's incredible. And I just get so excited for our clients, because I'm like, I'm just so proud of them for booking that job. It's amazing. Or for the Jill when she'll book it, and a lot of, just returning customers, exactly like you're saying, like it's that time of year, let's book it, boom. And I mean, it's exciting to see. I love it.
Yeah.
It's exciting. And that's the beautiful thing about Christmas lights too. That's what I was talking to Jeremy on this one was, so pressure washing, you do pressure washing for 8 or 9 months, and then you're kind of like wore out and burn out from it. And then you start Christmas lights. So it's really exciting. And you start Christmas lights and you do it for 2 or 3 months and you're like, man, this sucks. I want to be done. And guess what? You're done. And then you start back in pressure washing. And so it's a great cycle to just keep that cycle going. Christmas lights is something that does take some time. It is something that I would shut down my pressure washing business almost all the way down to either shut it down, or I would just leave one unit running, and everybody else was all hands on board for Christmas lights. So it does take some labor, and it does take some time, but there is definitely profit in it. And this year, the way the pricing is 1/3 of it is going to be kind of product, and then it's a third is going to be labor, and then the other third is kind of profit at that point. So that's the beautiful thing about Christmas lights. And then the next year, you don't even have to pay for the product. You're just getting the third labor. And then, so it is very lucrative. It's very, very profit. The profit margins on Christmas lights are very high at the end of the day.
Awesome. Well, I'm not going to lie, Nicole and I have talked about it at least a couple of times. We're like, we really got to start a business. So maybe say some year. But anyway, thank you so much, Jason. That was really helpful. Do you have any other questions?
No,
or-
I don't think so.
Yeah, we appreciate you sharing, and everyone go check out his stuff. Lots more to learn.
Awesome. Thank you all.
Thanks. Have a good one,
Thanks,
everyone.
Jason.
Yeah.